Welcome to the Midlife Edit, the podcast for women who are navigating the beautiful, messy, and sometimes sweaty journey of midlife. This isn't about a crisis, it's about an awakening. Join me, your host, Jen Weinstein, as I dive into all the things no one warned us about: hot flashes, brain fog, strength training, hormone balancing, and figuring out who the hell we are now. With a mix of expert insights, real talk, and a little humor, because if we're not laughing, we're crying, right? The Midlife Edit is your go-to space for embracing this season with confidence, strength, and balance. Whether you're trying to lift heavier, sleep better, set stronger boundaries, or just remember why you walked into a room, this podcast is here to remind you: midlife is not the end, it's just an edit, and you get to rewrite it your way. Hit subscribe and let's tackle midlife together, one episode at a time. This is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Midlife Edit. I'm your host, Jen Weinstein, and today is part 3 of my series, Midlife Nutrition Made Simple. We're going to talk about meal planning and batch cooking for us busy women. We're going to try to ditch diet culture perfection and just kind of embrace simple and time-saving meal planning strategies that help us support our energy and our strength and consistency without all of the stress. So, before we dive into this, let's do a quick recap of part 1 and part 2 of this series so far. So, part 1 was Metabolism 101. And we talked about how our metabolism is like a thermostat that adjusts to keep us stable. But we also talked about how we have the power to influence it through things like strength training and balanced nutrition and adequate rest, right? And then we moved on to protein. Part 2 was all about protein power and why it's so important for us in midlife to get in about a gram of protein per pound of body weight, right? So, 150 pounds, you want to aim for about 150 grams of protein a day. And I know if you've listened to it and you tried it and you were like, Jen, this is so hard, it's going to take some time. So just be patient, give yourself grace, and just remember, spread it out throughout the day. Do some at breakfast, some at lunch, some at dinner, and just make it simple. You don't have to eat that dry chicken breast 3 times a day. We can eat things like Greek yogurt and egg whites and lean beef to get our protein in, right? But, we're talking about all of this metabolism and protein, and then you think about, oh my gosh, I have to plan these meals. How am I going to do this? I'm busy. I am a career woman who is working 40 plus hours a week, or I'm a busy mom running from here to there, or a mix of everything, right? So today we're going to dive into what actually works for us in midlife in meal planning. If you've ever stood in front of your fridge at like 5 or 6 and you had zero idea what to make, this is the episode for you. You're going to walk away with some doable framework and quick tips to stop overthinking your meals. So let's just dive right into why meal planning looks different for us in midlife. Well, most of us were taught diet rules, not how to feed ourselves for energy and strength. We were taught, again, I keep going back to it, but I follow other people who say the same things. People like Chalene Johnson who say, she even admits, I taught my clients wrong in the 90s and early 2000s about less is more and eat less, and this is how you're going to lose the weight. We don't want to focus on losing weight. That's going to be an added bonus, hopefully, but we don't want to focus on the number on the scale. We want to focus about our energy and how we feel and our health, right? So we're going to ditch the diet rules. But then also, if you think about it, in your adolescent years, somebody was cooking for you, right? A parent or a caregiver. And then, in your teens and early 20s, you were one or the other. You were either that one who didn't worry about what you ate and you ate the pizza and the drive-through and the McDonald's after going to the bar, or you were so enthralled in diet culture where you were tracking every single thing and eating your Slim Fast and your lean cuisine, and you were just making an effort to eat as less as possible, right? We want to forget all of that stuff. Because why? We're in midlife now, and what happens? We have hormonal shifts. And what do they affect? Hunger cues. and blood sugar regulations and cravings, especially in the evening, right? Isn't that the time where you feel like, oh, you had a really great breakfast, our lunch was really good, but you're so tired by the end of the day, you just grab something that's quick, or you don't even make dinner, you just start snacking and you think, oh, okay, well, I just had a little snack for dinner. It's really not going to matter much. It's not going to tip the scale one way or the other. But then you realize maybe a handful of whatever I was eating was only 50 calories, but shit, I just ate the whole bag, right? Because I'm starving. So let's talk about meal planning and how it's not about rigid rules. It's about removing decision fatigue. So you don't have to think about it. You do meal planning one day a week and everything else is kind of laid out for you, just like when you were in your adolescent years and your mom or dad was making sure that you were fed in the evening. We want to make sure that we're planning properly because proper planning reduces stress and keeps us consistent with protein and balanced nutrition. So we're not reaching for the bag of chips or hitting McDonald's on the way home because we didn't have a plan for what we were going to have for dinner. But remember, midlife isn't about restriction. It's about supporting your body with what it needs to feel strong, focused, and fueled. So I'm not saying you can never have pizza or you could never go through a drive-through, but if we're planning and prioritizing our health, it's not even going to be an option because we're just going to go, to the next best thing is, oh, that's right. I put this in the freezer. This is what I'm going to have for dinner. It's already set and ready to go. So let's talk about midlife edit meal planning and the framework for this, right? So let's remember 4 P's. Let's talk about the 4 P's of meal planning. Plan, prep, pair, and pivot. Plan, prep, pair, and pivot. Lots of P's. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plan. We're going to start with another P, protein. We're going to choose 3 to 4 proteins and 2 veggies and maybe 1 to 2 carbs. We're going to make a simple 3-day plan, not a full 7-day plan, because that's going to be overwhelming, especially if you're just starting out meal batching or meal prepping. But always include your non-negotiables. Okay, so you want to think about, okay, I need my coffee in the morning, right? Or I need that afternoon snack. Or if all of your kids are going to be home and you're going to have a family style dinner, or it's just going to be you and your partner that night, or maybe it's just you that night. We always want to plan for what our week looks like. And then we want to do the prep work. So do a reset once a week. 60-minute reset. Chop, bake, roast, store, whatever you need to do. And then you want to pair. You want to mix and match your proteins and veggies and carbs into meals. You can turn grilled chicken into tacos or bowls or wraps. There's always, if you take one protein, you can make a few different meals out of it. And then make sure we're pivoting. We need to leave room for life. So make sure we have leftovers or something to assemble a quick meal. Structure creates ease. It doesn't create pressure, right? And I know it sounds so regimented and we've got to do this, but at the end of the day, if you take one day, an hour or two in that one day a week and you do this, it's going to make your life so much simpler throughout the week. And you won't even have to worry about it. You won't have to think about it. You won't have to stress about it, right? So we talked about the 4 Ps. Now let's talk about batch cooking and how we can make batch cooking easy. What can you prep in 60 minutes? Well, you can prep 2 to 3 proteins: chicken, hard-boiled eggs, turkey meatballs, tofu if you're a vegetarian. You can prep 2 veggies: roasted broccoli. That is a staple in my house. Broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Unfortunately, it makes my house smell and I have to use essential oils like crazy, but those are our 2 favorite veggies here. And roasting the broccoli where it gets like real crisp on the outside. Oh, that's my absolute favorite. But same with Brussels sprouts too. And I remember growing up, I never ate Brussels sprouts. I didn't eat a lot of veggies growing up. But it was always like, ugh, Brussels sprouts. Everybody talked about how yucky Brussels sprouts are, right? They're so good. So good. But you can also do a salad mix or a frozen stir fry mix. And then add in your 1 to 2 carbs. like sweet potatoes or quinoa or brown rice. I'm recording this on a Saturday, and I'm actually tonight we're going to have quinoa bowls. So good, so easy. Quinoa is very satiating. You can eat a lot of it and feel full for longer, right? So we can batch cook this stuff, right? But how do we do it? What are some tips? Well, use things like sheet pan dinners, or air fryers. I love my air fryers. I get the chicken tenders, not like the chicken breast tenders that you can get in the deli, in the meat counter, and put some seasoning on them, throw them in the air fryer. Oh, they're still so juicy and good when they come out. But use your crock pot. I love batch cooking and meal prepping. Like for my lunches for the week, I love using the crock pot. Throw some chicken breast in there, let it go all day, put it in Sunday morning and let it go. By the afternoon, you can shred it up and you can make different things with it. Store your food in clear containers so you know what's in there. What's visible gets eaten, right? I used to, and we've kind of gotten away from this because my husband wasn't a big fan of it, but I used to put all my veggies in where my condiments go in the refrigerator, because when I see it there, like my fresh veggies and produce and fruits and things like that, so that they didn't go bad, because when I see it, that's the first thing I'm going to grab, right? So use that same concept when you're meal prepping. Put them in a clear container, because when you see it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's what I'm going to have for dinner. And that's great. Or, if you are one of those families where people are in and out all the time, and you have older kids, they can grab it and they can be like, oh, okay, this is a good healthy meal, instead of running down to McDonald's or Chipotle or wherever they like to eat. And you want to batch your protein into 4 to 6 ounce servings to meet your goals. So it just, get a 4 to 6 ounce chicken breast and put it in there with some quinoa and broccoli, and boom, there's your meal. Another tip is your freezer. Your freezer is your secret weapon. So double a recipe and freeze half of it for busy weeks, right? Just, if you have time I like to do my meal prepping and my meal planning on Sundays. It's just how it works for me in my life. Wait, let me reverse that a little bit. I do my grocery shopping and my planning on Saturday mornings usually. I used to be really good at doing the grocery pickup. I've kind of gotten away from that. I need to go back to it because I absolutely hate going into the grocery store. And honestly, if I do grocery pickup, I'm not buying things that I don't need. But I like to do that Saturday mornings. And then I take Saturdays to do other things around the house, or, I enjoy my Saturdays kind of free. But then Sundays is when I meal prep. So I plan Saturdays, I meal prep Sundays, and I kind of break it up so it's not super monotonous. It's not like I'm spending the whole day doing this, right? But anyway, back to your freezer. Your freezer's your weapon. So double a recipe and freeze half for busy weeks. So if next weekend you've got a soccer tournament all weekend, or you're away at a cheer competition, or you have to travel for work, and you have you're on a plane for a day and a half, and you're not going to want to come home and meal prep. Freeze it for the next week. Just start planning. Plan that time out. So let's get practical, okay? Let's shift some mindset here. You don't have to be perfect when you meal prep. Just plan for your real life, right? My life is different than your life. It's different than your friend's life. It's different than your mom's life. We all are different. And as much as I can give you advice, you're going to do it a little bit differently than I do, and that's okay. There's not one way of doing things. I'm just trying to help you make it easier in your life. But pick your planning day. Like I said, I like to do my grocery shopping on Saturday mornings, and I meal prep on Sundays, and then I make like a nice family meal for our Sunday night. So I kind of do it all together. Sometimes my stepkids come out and help me. Sometimes my husband helps me. Sometimes I'm like, nope, I got this. I'm on my own. I listen to some music while I do it and dance around the kitchen, or I put on a podcast. It's kind of like, it's therapeutic for me. I kind of like doing it. I don't dread doing it anymore. I used to dread doing it, but it's kind of fun for me now. Or maybe the weekends aren't for you. Maybe you work all weekend. Maybe you're going to do it on a Monday. Just pick a day and be consistent with it. and use some themes to reduce overthinking this, right? So maybe Monday's chicken bowl, and Tuesday's Taco Tuesday, and Wednesday we're doing stir fry, and then Thursday we're going to have the leftovers from all that stuff. And then Friday, maybe you do take out on Friday, or you have an ingredients night where you're like, okay, well, we still have a little bit of chicken left over and we still have some Brussels sprouts or a salad. Let's put all this together and see what we can come up with. But then another good tip is to always keep 3 go-to meals stocked. So maybe it's a rotisserie chicken and you have bagged salad and you're burnout from whatever you ate. You can just throw that together as a meal for a night, or tuna wrap and fruit, or for breakfast, like a protein smoothie and toast. And look, this doesn't have to be just for dinner. Maybe you don't want to meal prep for dinner, but maybe you work an office job and you are so sick of getting takeout because, number one, it's expensive. Life is expensive anymore, right, guys? I mean, going to the grocery store is expensive anymore. But if you think about eating lunch out every single day, that adds up. Not only in your pocket, but then that adds up in calories that you don't realize that you're consuming, or maybe not the healthiest food. So if you don't want to meal prep for dinner, maybe just meal prep for lunches or for breakfast. You can make egg cups for breakfast with, put ham and some egg whites and a little bit of cheese and maybe bell pepper in a muffin tin and put them in the oven for a few minutes. And there you go. You've got breakfast every day for the week. If you do things like this, you're going to start to see, holy cow, this is so great. It's so easy. And we're just going to continue to do this, and it's going to be like, second nature now. And you're not going to be stressed out or have an argument with your partner over what's for dinner because you already know what's for dinner, right? So, how does this support our protein goals? This is, we're just going to tie it back to that protein. Just like when I was talking about protein, we tied it back into the strength training. It all works together to make us good, right? To make our bodies feel healthy and strong. So most women, and we talked about this, we undereat protein, but it's not because we don't want to. It's because we don't plan for it, right? So if we're batch cooking this protein, we're 90% more likely to hit our daily target. And we can also batch cook or batch prep snacks. Cups of Greek yogurt, make our own protein bars, TikTok, I love it. Judge me all you want. I love TikTok. TikTok in 2025 isn't the TikTok that we had in 2020 during the pandemic with a bunch of, show my age, teeny boppers dancing around and everything else. There are so many great creators on that app that come up with the most unique and fun recipes for all of this different stuff. How to make your own protein bowls and protein bars. And so you're not spending a ton of money, number one, but you're not getting all that extra artificial junk that you don't need in your diet. So check that out. Check out Pinterest. I have a Pinterest board at the Jen Weinstein that I put things up. If you're curious about what I'm eating, or follow me on social media, because I like to post not as often as I should about what I'm eating, but I'm going to start more because I need to hold myself accountable. That's how I hold myself accountable with exercise, as I post all the time. So if you're curious on what I'm eating or what I'm batch cooking, check those out. But there are so many great resources. Social media isn't always bad. This is the good part of social media. We're talking about what we're eating. We're talking about recipes that we're making, and it's just fun. Just make sure we're planning, right? Planning your protein is planning for progress. So again, let's just talk about motivation to meal prep. You don't have to be a meal prep queen. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be weeks where you don't do it. You're going to be tired. You're going to get sick of the food, right? But just have a few staples and a flexible plan, because that goes a long way. Again, consistency beats perfection every time. You don't have to be perfect at it, but if you're consistent, you're going to get damn close. I promise you that. And small shifts in your kitchen can mean big wins for things like your energy and your mood and your confidence, right? So make those small shifts by having the meals ready to go and having them easily available that you can just, even if it's a grab and go breakfast. Um, and if any of you out there have any really great ideas or recipes that you want to share with me, I am open to all of that. I love when people share recipes with me or some quick tips and tricks because we're all in this together, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not the expert and all be all of this. This is just all based on my experience and what I've done over the past couple years to really get my health in the right way and plan for life after midlife, you know, plan for my grandma body. I want to make sure that we're talking about this openly and freely and we're sharing ideas with each other because again, what works for me may not work for you, but somebody's listening out there who maybe is in the same realm as you and you won't know unless you talk about it. That being said, let's talk about how we can talk about it. I'm sitting here and you're listening to me, whether you're in the car or on a walk or at the office. I really appreciate you listening to me everywhere, by the way. I'm very, very grateful for my listeners. But I've also, again, I've talked about the Midlife Gains Club, right? And it's a Facebook group. There's no cost for it. There's nothing, but I want it to be a safe space for us midlife women out there that can talk about things like, okay, well, Jen talked about protein the other day and I can't get it in. Can anybody give me some tips and tricks? Or, I feel really bloated today. Can we talk about this? And it's not just about food and nutrition and exercise. We're going to talk about all different things in that group. I just put a post today. I cut 2 inches off my hair because I was so sick of the perimenopause hair loss, literally just clumps of hair, and my hair just didn't look healthy. So I cut my hair. And I want to talk about things like that. I want to talk about how, there's parts on my body that are jiggly now that weren't before, or the night sweats, or the dark sides of how midlife affects us, and it affects our mind and our confidence. And, we can talk about things like our libido and sex life and anything. It is our safe space there. So I'm going to link it in the show notes. It's a Midlife Gains Club. There's no judgment there. I promise you, if I start seeing anybody being judgy or anything like that, boom, they're out, because us women need to stick together. We, especially, I said all social media isn't bad, but there are bad parts of social media, right? And women are mean to each other. And it's because of jealousy, or it's because of, I don't know what it is because of, but we can't be mean to each other. We've got to stick together. We've got to share our tips and tricks on how we're feeling better. We can't gatekeep things, right? We've come so far as a society with women. We just need to keep lifting each other up. So that's what the Midlife Gains Club is about. It is about lifting each other up. It's about creating new friendships because we all know making friends in midlife is freaking hard. What do you do? How do you make friends in midlife, right? You're not on a swing set in the park like you were when you were a little kid, or you're not in class. Maybe you are, but like you're not in college classes with all of these kids and going out to the bar and drinking, and that's your friend group. Making friends in midlife is hard. So let's be friends together in the Midlife Gains Club. Anyway, off my soapbox on that. I wanted to throw that in the Midlife Gains Club. um, so to wrap all of this up, listen, midlife isn't about eating less. It's about eating with intention. We're going to plan protein and prep simple bases. We're going to create flexibility and ease in choosing what's for dinner every day. And we're going to stay consistent without the stress. So, just continue to listen to this podcast. Share this podcast with somebody who may need to hear it or is confused on how to do things like meal prep and why it's important. I know I didn't give you any recipes. I didn't tell you exactly how to cook things, but it's just a start. This is just the base of how to meal prep or batch prep or why we should be doing it, right? If you are in the Midlife Gains Club, I'll link that in the show notes. I'm going to throw in another free PDF. Look, I'm not charging for these things. I like to share what I do with people, and maybe it'll help somebody. Maybe it'll help somebody that's super stressed and not knowing what to do. So I'm going to throw a weekly meal planner PDF in there for anybody that's interested. And just follow me on Instagram. I promise I'm going to start posting when I'm meal prepping every week, or, what I've failed at. Because guess what? We fail. We're not perfect, and we fall short on things like food and eating. And sometimes we are just so freaking tired that ordering a pizza is the easiest way out. And guess what? That's okay. We got to give ourselves some grace there, right? So make sure that you are following me on Instagram at the Jen Weinstein, that you check out the Midlife Edit Co. website. It is a new website that I made for the Midlife Edit. And, I threw the co in there because there was already a Midlife Edit taken, and I don't know what it is because there's no website to it. But anyway, it's the Midlife Edit Co. because this is a company. This is my company. This is my passion project. So the midlifeeditco.com will have blog posts, and I'll start putting up show notes if you guys want. I don't know, maybe give me some feedback on that. But like and follow. And if you would, just share this with somebody and leave a review, because a review goes a long way. Because maybe this episode wasn't the one that really resonated with you, but maybe there's somebody out there that it does. And if you leave me a review and my podcast gets out to that one person, you helped make a difference in somebody's life. And it's all about teamwork, and it's all about togetherness, and it's all about empowering and lifting each other up. So thanks so much for listening. Let's talk about next week, guys. Next week, I'm going to have a special guest on here. She is a friend, a mom, a nurse practitioner, and we are going to talk about GLP-1s and why they're not bad and why they can help you. We're going to talk about intuitive eating and ditching the food guilt around midlife and what we can do to make ourselves feel better. So next week, check it out. It's going to be an interview with my friend Ashley Durbin. And until then, check out the show notes. Join the the Midlife Gains Club on Facebook. And this is the Midlife Edit. Let's make it a damn good chapter. We'll see you guys next week.